Hello everyone and welcome back to my The Young and Restless 24 YouTube channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. At Billy's place, he chuckles as Sally chops and punches the pillows into shape. Since she knows tonight is important for him, she's determined to make effects perfect. He's sure that if effects go south, it wouldn't be due to ethereal pillows. Thanking her, he kisses her before the doorbell rings. Billy calls the guests in. It's Jack, with Diane on his arm. They look around at the place and respect what Sally has done to it. Billy says all the credit is due to her great taste. Diane takes the occasion to tell her hubby it's all about trust. Jack announces they're without a home, and his woman explains they had to move into the club while the house is being streamlined. Diane teases that living in the stage of luxury is no great bother. Billy admits that Diane reached out and asked for his blessing on the redecoration, but had no idea it was so big until he drove in and saw the construction crews. This incontinently sets Jack out fussing. Trying to assure him it seems like further than it is, Diane repeats it's only a remodel. In a shot to calm him further, Sally explains that when she was working in home decoration, she was always surprised by how large crews were needed to do the lowest effects. When she mentions rally crews, Diane begs her to stop before Jack has a heart attack. Diane tells her hubby that if he doesn't like the remodel, they can turn it back into the old and dated gallery that he loved ahead. Everyone is relieved when Billy decides to change the subject. He thanks them all for being there at this turning point in his life. It feels like a new morning, and he wants to thank his big family for trusting and supporting him. They've had conflict over the times, but no way, because they didn't love each other. He's sure Jack loves and has confidence in him. That means everything. They toast to Jack and to Abbott dispatches. Rising, Jack makes a toast. Indeed, if his family didn't feel it, he no way stopped believing in him. He's always respected his determination and adaptability after suffering further lapses and bummers than anyone he knows. Billy has always gone after what he wants with passion, creativity, and old-fashioned Abbott intransigence. Jack is sure his rearmost design will be a great success due to his power to love and forgive. The sisters clinch and Billy jokes that, after all that, he more not squinch up. Downing the mood again, Diane asks if it's wise to have Phyllis be part of this. Billy claims she'll be an asset and do all in her power to make it a success. Well, let's just hope this redemption stint is more successful than the last 100 or so, Diane snipes. Billy doesn't want to spend the evening defending his decision. Jack changes the content to the launch, but this leads to his family admitting that Phyllis left city to chase down some mysterious hookups and she's been insolvable to reach. Jack starts to look upset and Diane makes it worse. Springing up, Sally declares the food is ready and leads Billy into the kitchen. Jack urges his woman to drop all the Phyllis defacing. Diane reminds him that his investment could be derailed by his partner. Did he indeed know she was part of this when he agreed to ante the bill? He asks her to drop this until they get home. Sally and Billy bring in some food and Diane asks the redhead for a stint. After they've walked out, Jack apologizes for his woman. But Billy doesn't watch what Diane thinks. Jack assures his family he'll trust his instincts, although Phyllis running out is intimidating. Billy can hear that. Be careful, advises Jack. At Nate's extension, he has the champagne out for his relatives. They toast to the company growing and prospering. They've been working on a junction for 6 months and eventually closed it thanks to Lily. Nate toasts to her getting them past the finish line. Devin adds she's the stylish there is. They're just excited she's back where she belongs. Lily sensations at how she ended over there after all that she had to go through. I guess Victor Newman was right, damn him, she admits. The content turns to Damien and Amy. Lily announces there are some effects about his half-family he needs to know. As she sits and sips her champagne, she explains she had Damien delved after he pushed to meet with her. She wanted to know if there was further to the story than it sounded. Nate reminds her he no way asked her to poke into his half-family's history and wouldn't have. Devin is more concerned with what she set up out. Pouring further champagne, Lily explains that Damien doesn't enjoy the two companies he was purported to enjoy. The real proprietor is a private company called Arabesque. Damien is a CEO of two companies, but they're possessed by Aristotle Dumas. Devon has heard the name and explains that no bone indeed knows what he looks like. Lily says he goes out of the way to keep his involvement quiet. She thinks that Damien lying about details like this is a big red flag and begs the question of what differently he could be lying about. Nate wonders how Denise missed all this and asks how she set up out. She tries to avoid answering directly but is prodded into admitting it was Victor. Nate's furious that that man is anywhere near his business, but his kinsman assures him he's not involved. They argue about what this Dumas Joe has to do with this. When Lily admits she's had many meetings with Damien and that there's always been commodity strange about him, Nate reprises that he no way asked her to get involved. She explains that Damien asked her out, and she agreed for Nate's sake because she allowed. She could help with the Amy situation. I was trying to break open this box of falsehoods he's been telling you since he came to city, Lily insists. Her kinsman says that's all inapplicable. This is only about Damien and Amy. However, he might be angry and leave city without giving Amy another study, if his half-family learns he was being delved. Lily apologizes. Her kinsman knows she meant well. He's grown to watch about Amy, and she's given him sapience into a man he lost when he was too youthful. Either, good or bad, he and Damien are still sisters and connected. His relatives worry about him being hurt. Nate can't stop fussing that turning to Victor will come back to suck them and scarify Damien off. He begs Lily to admire his boundaries and keep out of this. Nate apologizes if he's come down too hard, but they get it. He's trying to give his family the benefit of the mistrustfulness and assumes there's a good reason before all his mysteriousness. Devon offers any help they can give. Leave it alone, just leave it alone. I've got this, Nate requests. Amy and Damien are at a table in the dining room of the athletic club. She announces she's ready to give him all the answers he asks of her. Damien isn't indeed sure where to begin. He orders them a pot of chamomile tea, assuming that's still her favorite. His mama is touched, he flashed back. Damien makes it clear that they're a long way from fixing effects. She's relieved they can partake a common memory and has no prospects of a quick fix. This is hard for both of them. It broke her heart to learn that he allowed. She didn't watch about his father when he was dying. Amy can't stop allowing about how hysterical and alone he felt. She took advantage, assuming that he could handle further than he could. He admits he was only taking his own passions into account and is sorry for that. Tearing up, she thanks him for that and says that if they can mend indeed a little of their hurt, she'll die happy. Once the tea arrives, she smells it and smiles, flashing back his cat, Figaro. They hid the nimble in the house so they could gently break the news to his pater that they had a pet. But as soon as Jackson met him, they were in love. After Jackson failed, Figaro wouldn't leave his room. Damien misses that man too. Amy says that he was his father's world. They had an unbreakable bond from the moment they met. They recall the day he was born and how he nearly had to be delivered by the side of the road. His pater was there when he was born and was the first person to hold him. The look on his face was absolute love. Damien gets her to swear that he no way knew he wasn't his natural father. Once she does, he says he no way tasted for an alternate that Jackson suspected the verity. Keeping the secret counted on her, but his father was so connected to him she couldn't do it. She could no way tell Nathan moreover. That would have dropped a lemon on his family. Amy hoped her shame would go down, but it didn't. When Jackson failed, it was like a burden was lifted. Her taradiddle was safe, and she allowed. She could die with the verity. Still, commodity changed in her when she got the cancer opinion. After discovering she was dying, she didn't want him to be alone in the world without knowing he'd a family. Amy no way allowed. That telling him the verity would go well. She anticipated him to be angry and hurt but hoped he'd reach out to Nate. As hard as this has been, she doesn't lament a moment. She's still hoping he'll forgive her one day, indeed if it's after she's gone. They had a strong bond formerly, too. He can't deny that. His knowledge was great until his father failed. That was a terrible time. First, they lost Jackson and also each other. Amy always allowed that she and Jackson would grow old and wrinkly together. She wasn't ready to lose him and didn't handle it well. Neither did I, Damien admits. His mama promises to do anything to repair the damage. When he tells her he's willing to try, she says that's all she demanded to hear. Their food arrives, but she doesn't eat important. He assumes that's because of her leukemia. Amy tells him that it's a battle. They talk about Nate setting her up with a new oncologist. Amy isn't holding out for a phenomenon, but her son urges her to be positive. She'll go and see the rearmost croaker. If for nothing differently but to satisfy Nate. She's made peace with God and with her son. That's all the phenomenon she needs. Suddenly, she's gotten close to Nate and he's a good man. Incontinently, Damien starts asking how well she knows the rest of Nate's family and makes a show of forgetting Lily's name. She doesn't know important about them but adores Audra. As he eats, he asks if the relatives are good people who can be trusted. She hopes this curiosity means he wants to get to know his half-family more. When Jack and Diane arrive at the entrance of the athletic club, she assumes he's still frenetic at her. He concedes that he's as concerned about Phyllis as she is, but he wants his family to feel encouraged so he can fly. Flying anywhere with Phyllis is bound to end in a crash wharf, she says.